All right, I'm at the Nada Expo 2024, and this is actually my second day. The first day I came and यत्ति हेरेँ मात्र के छ भनेर प्रडक्ट भेराइटीहरू अनि कस्तो स्पेसिफिकेसन्स फिनिसिङ के छ भनेर I just enjoy doing it myself, and then थाहा नपाउँदै दिन नै बितेछ. So I'm back here again on the second day, and this time चाहिँ I won't exactly have a vlog in mind where I tell you all the specifications and pricing. There are other media outlets and influencers and content creators that have already done it. Monse Aza, what I'm really planning on doing is showing things that I thought were really cool, at least to me personally, and just trying to highlight kun gari kun stall ma ke चाहिँ like राम्रो छ, not to miss out भनेर चाहिँ. So yeah, let's go. Right at the beginning of the Nada stall is Aether, and I really like the fact that right on display at the front they have the aluminium chassis. If you've seen my video, you've seen how rigorous they tested all of this out. 2014, 2011 देखि नै कलेजको प्रोजेक्टबाट बनाएको अहिलेसम्म के चेन्ज गरेर यहाँ ल्याइसकेको छ स्कुटरलाई to this final product. And at the Aether stall, they have two products on display. One is the 450S, the less expensive version of the 450X. The motor and the battery in display is this, and they're both very capable. The only difference is, I think, a little less range and less peak torque, but you really can't tell the difference. And here is the 450X. The one differentiation about this is that it does have Google Maps. Ani मेरो रिभ्यूमा नि रमाइलो भएको थियो गुगल म्याप्सले हेर्दै चलाउनलाई. यसको वार्प मोडमा राख्दा त I really don't think there's any other scooter in the market at the moment that can keep up. And here's the 450S. यसमा चाहिँ अब LCD screen दिएको छ, तर पनि enough of information. Similar modes पनि warp mode चाहिँ हुँदैन क्या यसमा, but build quality is basically the same. अनि यसको boot and X को boot चाहिँ दुवै उस्तै नै छ. Very good. I also really like that they have an LED light on this. And here's another color. I think this is called a cyan green. Halko color ho. But yeah, they've got phenomenal servicing as well as the quality in product. Ani again, heading to somewhere that's emptier. Monoshock at the back and dual at the front. It's a bit stiff the ride, but oh my god, the handling is so nice. And opposite to Aether is the Neo stall. I haven't reviewed these bikes, but I've seen them all over town. They've got pretty decent pickup as far as I know, and their build quality is also quite top notch. I know some of them are longer range compared to the other, but they've got very utilitarian urban sort of designs. You then move on to the Vespa and Aprilia stalls and your very busy Honda. This is their all-new Zoom. It's been very much publicized. I really want to test this out someday. I think this will be really good. I personally ride a Aviator. अनि just पुग्ने गरी छ तौडा छ स्कुटर चाहिँ. Alright, I see something more interesting. This one has to do more with replaceable batteries, and they've got this very cool swap and go sort of thing where you like remove the battery on the highway or wherever and then just take a new one and leave. I think these are made with more delivery and moving things in mind. So a lot of parcel holding areas. Further in, we have Ziho, and these scooters are very futuristic looking and also in a more affordable range. Definitely more than a petrol scooter, but I've been told the performance on these scooters, the torque and the initial pull is just really, really great. We have CF Moto. This is their brand new unveiled flagship. Apparently, this bike really cruises super easy and well, even at higher speeds, but it's nimble and maneuverable enough that you really don't feel too sluggish on this. Man, it just looks so rugged. On the left, we have a stall from Suzuki. And at the very end is your Pulsar section. The new NS400 is in display. Looks like a very heavy and stable bike. And your last bike stall is your Yadia. I still don't know how to pronounce it, but I've seen tons of them around town, and I think they provide pretty decent range and handling in the city. In between the bike section at the front and the car section is a lot of food stalls. Bakery, Bawarchi, Trisara. I think it's a good, refreshing break point before the main attraction at the show. And right at the very front, you have a welcoming stage for the opening and closing ceremony. But then, right at the side, you have your Mahindra, which we'll go and check out now. You have your opening ceremony stage there, the entrance to Nada here, and right outside is your Mahindra stall. This is the new Scorpio N, followed by the XUV 400 that I just reviewed, and then another 400 and the XUV 700. This car does really good in terms of handling, and I think Mahindra have really changed their design language on this when they've really improved in terms of not just build quality but just overall appearances and luxury and everything, like straight off from the door handles. The finishing on this is really, really different what you would expect from normal Mahindra cars, and even the infotainment screen at the front, they really upped their game in terms of quality and refinement and also drivability. At least that's what I found out through the XUV 400. And moving to the XUV 400, your charger flap is right at the front, CCS Type 2 port. I really like the white color over the black one I reviewed. It's not the flashiest infotainment, but it does have all the features that you need. Boasts 10.25-inch touchscreens at the front and the driver's display, and range is pretty decent, but I think what the best thing about this car is this back seat. It's probably the widest middle segment SUV, and so shoulder room, leg room, footwell room is really good. Oh, and it's an Indian car, so the AC is like top notch on these Mahindra cars. And here's a much more beefier, revamped sort of Scorpio. The interiors are really, really much better fine-tuned and like on the premium side. Soft touch materials, stitching, leatherette seats, the seat, the steering wheel. And it's not just at the front, but also at the back too. Okay, so I've arrived at the Nita stall, which is right at the front, and they have showcased their all-new Nita X, which kind of has been around since the last Nada, but I think they had a bit of delays and logistical issues with importing, but here it is. And this car provides about 500 km of range, probably realistically over 400, but that's what they claim. And the good thing about this mid-size SUV segment is they've coupled it with a good 185, 80 above sort of ground clearance, good disc brakes at the front and the back on all each of the wheels. And I think what's really cool about this car is the interior on this car. Not just that, but the coupe roofline at the back. And if I can find it, all right. And the boot space on this, it's got a bit of a lip there, but very spacious, deep. Again, it's modern EVs, so you don't really have spare tires. But it looks like a good 400 and above, maybe even 500 liters of boot space at the back. And their design is really, really fantastic. I haven't seen these tires, Chow Yang, but it looks like it's 225, 60, and 18-inch rims. So I really like that they've got thick tire walls, so it's gonna do great in complementing shock absorption when it comes to bumpier roads. And then you have the trusty and very well sold Neta V. A smaller hatchback segment, but because of its okay wheelbase size, clearance and everything, performance is quite well on this car as well. Alright, this was a car that I attended the launch, and they had promised a very good range of 600 kilometers. And it's a very big car. Like, you definitely can't unsee it, but it's got good clearance, big wheels, and it's a very premium size SUV with a lot of boot space, especially with the seats folded down like this. And what is quite the defining feature to me, at least, is this wooden plasticky sort of finishing. It's like a whole different playground of materials: soft leatherette, stitching material, hard plastics, vinyl plastic finishing, and then mid-level plastics here. Yeah, I'm at the Ion CG Motors and GAC stall, and performance and stats wise, I do not know much about these cars other than the fact that it's got doors that falcon up. Like, the seat on this is just crazy. Very much like a Model X, but just check out all that back leg room here. The seats are like big and bulky, and you even have like a whole tray at the back. Really cool stuff. We're also given ISOFIX points, which I think are standards, and cup holders that come out. This feels more like a airplane rather than just another regular car. The boot too on this car feels like it's really massive and big, and you do have underfloor storage space. Really reminds me of Model X on the inside. I'm assuming these Falcon doors have good safety in them, because in the event of a rollover or in tight parking lots, these are definitely the thing that will be highlighted. And oh my god, giant 20-inch rims at the front. Looks like you have LiDAR sensors on top, and I don't think this car is meant for the market here yet. It's still on a right-hand drive sort of direction, but Frameless doors. Oh wow, these doors are like big and heavy. The finishing feels quite nice, honestly. These aftermarket. I feel that these are aftermarket mats, but really nice. And this is a very unique shape steering wheel. It's more oval. You have a center console and what appears to be cup holders at the front. You have a small driver's display, and it looks like it'll hit 450 kilometers and above, depending on this. And then you have the Ion Y 2700 meter wheelbase, which isn't anything new anymore, but 100 kilowatt motor with 225 newton meters of torque, and battery is 61.5 kilowatt hour with a range of about 500 kilometers, but realistically probably gonna have to cut off about 50 kilometers. And again, it's a very spacious, like even more at the front than the front. Like just check this out at the back. This is just crazy amount of legroom and everything. And then I come to Ceres. I've test driven, oh my god, my English, both the new facelift model, the new Series 3, but also the Mini. The Mini is a very compact, cute sort of car that really handles city traffic well, really easy to maneuver. Inside is pretty spacious for a car that small. And then you have your trusty, rugged Series 3, which is somehow conquered the Corolla Pass. It looks like the range was not a problem even in higher altitudes. Really long wheelbase and 190 mm of ground clearance, if I remember correctly. The suspension on this car is also really phenomenal. And what I really liked about this car is that they've sort of pulled in designers from Porsche, like internationally, and you can really see Porsche design elements, especially at the coupe backline here. Boot space too is... Where is the boot space? Here. Is also really decent for a mid-size SUV. It's definitely on the taller, bulkier side, and you do have a spare tire, which to me at least is a proper highlight. The backside of the Series Mini is very flat, but I think the one thing that would be a bit of a disadvantage, but again, there's enough room in the back seats, is your boot space on this car is a bit limited, so you can squeeze in a couple of backpacks here, but I think that's it. Again, for a commuter, this would be more than enough though. Alright, and here's a car that's been really, really well talked about. It's the new Nami EV from Dongfeng Motors, and it's at a very affordable price range, under 35 even for the highest spec model. A good 170 mm of unladen ground clearance. I think it'll drop a bit when it comes to a fully loaded cabin, but the rear space on this car is phenomenal, and there isn't a single feature that I can think of that this car does not have. Starting from the boot at the back, very decent amount of space, and I really think this car with its like pull-out door handles is definitely geared for the more young and abstract and entrepreneurial sort of people, with its like flashy colors. This is like lavender, there's like a light blue color there, and there's like more of a neon color there. It's got really good features on the inside, and I think what's a big highlight about this car is that at this price range it actually has like automatic parking. I don't think it'll work everywhere, but I've seen some demos of it, and oh my god, this thing just backs you into a space. Like, how crazy is that? We're seeing vehicles in Kathmandu, Nepal, that can back itself in. Looking at the specifications, the range looked to be between 200 to 300 kilometers. It's a 70 kilowatt motor that produces about 160 newton meters of torque, which you might think isn't enough, but again, for city driving and even in the highway, it's more than enough. You have different capacity batteries starting from 31 all the way up to 42. And I'm really, really looking forward to like test driving this. This is a car that really surprised me. They're not just their introductory price under 70, but good range of 400 above, 160 kilowatt motor, and 190 mm of ground clearance. And this car is massive, like wheelbase 2800 millimeters from here to there. And they've like somehow sold it even at this price with like good 20-inch rims and Dunlop tires. You'd probably expect a smaller or like a cheaper tire, but they've really not cut any corners in terms of the exterior and interior features. I don't know if I'll be able to show you this, but the interior quality, the just overall, it's a button at the back, just the overall refinement on the interior space and then the cabin seats, the insulation, it's really, really good on this car. The C10, and you have like handles. This is what I was talking about. Just the finishing on this is really, really nice. You have a lot of soft touch materials everywhere, including on the seats. I think that's really, really good. This is an EV pickup, and I think this is where the best of both worlds meet. You have that instant torque, high, low latency sort of motors on the wheels that provide very good amount of power, and as you can see, it's got a big sort of payload at the back where you can easily fit in a lot of heavy duty things. Really massive, rugged off-roading sort of wheels with really big disc brakes. The wheels are 17-inch with really massive tire walls. Here is a car that is just simply loved by everyone everywhere it goes. It's the Kia EV9, their current flagship EV large SUV, and it is just a monster up front. Not just the wheel size, but just the car in general. You have so much going on in this car, starting from these pull-out grab handles, and let me tell you this, Kia have done so much better in terms of building their interior quality. Like, just look at the feel of these buttons. You have all the features you could want, cooling and heating at the front, motorized seats, and this dash panel just feels very, very premium at the front. And then even the middle row, you have a lot going on in terms of movability. The third row also is pretty spacious, last I checked it out, but I think what's really cool about this car is the boot space. Even with the third row up, you have more than enough space at the back. And that brings me to the other car that I really like, and this one's all about performance. It's the EV6. You do have the new facelift Seltos and Sonnet, both really loved cars in the Nepali market, at least, but this is performance oriented and drives super quick, handles really well. Just the big tire size with these massive 19-inch rims at the front, the very low stance Kia front line, and then I think the most interesting thing to me about driving this car, at least, was the C-pillar at the back. On this mirror here, you can actually see this part a bit bulge out, and you're quite conscious about this whole curved wrap at the back. Again, I love these cars with like these coupe shapes. Really, really nice to look. Like, do you see this bulge at the back? You can easily see it from the mirror at the front, and you become just a bit conscious when you're in like narrow roads. But just look at all the curves on this car on the side, all to like maximize airflow and everything. The charger port is at the back here, CCS Type 2, and it's built on a 800 volt architecture system, which is Hyundai and Kia's newest. And so this thing gobbles up charging speeds like holy crap. It's about, I think, 20 minutes, below 25 minutes for the entire thing, and then the boot is very practical and long. I'm at the Citroen stall now, and I've tested that car out, the EC3 Shine, and let me tell you, it is a bit of a surprise. Range-wise, I remember it being around 230 to 250, not more. More geared towards city driving, but at the hatchback shape without too much of micro car sacrifices. Really good clearance, but you know what really was amazing on this car? One, the AC, two, the suspension. Like, oh my god, this car handles really, really good. It handles as good as a Toyota RAV4. And this car, small motor, but very efficient motor, very good handling, and it's honestly something that really surprised me when it came to testing out. You've also got the bigger brother, the C5 Aircross here. This is a over 1 crore car. Again, luxury finishing is just on a very different level on this car. But I think this is where you really want to divert your attention. If you want really good handling in the car, you definitely need to test drive this. I'm gonna start straight off with the Punch EV. I can't open this, but it is basically Tata's new micro segment. I wouldn't say micro, but entry segment flagship SUV with really good ground clearance on this vehicle. And again, the crowd's really wild, but just looking at it, it's got 90 kilowatt motor, which produces about 190 Newton meters of torque, which again might not sound like a lot, but it's more than enough. Your battery pack is about 35 kilowatt hours, and the range is supposedly around 300 plus kilometers. I'll have to test this car out for like a proper range and efficiency estimate, but overall the looks are very modern and contemporary. You have Tata's new signature light bar at the front with a good host of like LED treatments, and even the boot at the back is quite usable. You also have one in a darker green, navy green sort of color with, I actually like this better. It's definitely on the darker side, but I think I prefer this any day. And you have an infotainment screen, and what I've heard really good about this car is because it's Indian made, it's quite rugged, and they've really fit good tires on it. And again, this is Nepali road, so the approach angle at the front and then the departure at the back, really, really good cars for our roads. I really look forward to seeing more of this on the road, and definitely a test drive. This is obviously the Ioniq 5, and this is totally Hyundai's flagship. When it first released, it just created tons of disturbances in the market. The power is a 125 kilowatt motor with 350 Newton meters of torque, and the range is an expected 375, but knowing Hyundai, it's probably a underestimate of the values. I think if you drive this carefully, you can definitely get much better. It's a 3-meter wheelbase, so it's like absolutely huge, and the finishing on this car is rather really good. Like just looking, you have really soft, nice touch materials with ambient lighting and perforated leather seats. You have the 4 dot, which stands for an H by the way, in Morse code, the new Hyundai. You have a magnetic holder here. Maybe this will work. Yeah. Yup, it's a magnet holder. And then you have a good amount of headlight adjustment and everything. Again, this car is supposed to be really, really nice when it comes to handling and just all the tech. It's a 800 volt architecture system, so charging speeds are, I think, up to 80% in like 20 minutes. You have like B pillar AC vents, pretty rare. Don't see it in most cars. And then you have your space, just really, really amazing, and a very big and wide sunroof at the top. Here's the new Creta facelift, made much boxier. This is a car that's just loved by so many. New intricate alloy wheels, and I think the boot on this car is also pretty spacious. Yup, that is massive. And a spare wheel. Oh, and here's my car. The new version. And then you have a Grand i10 Neos at the back. Also, fun fact, this car is now produced in Nepal. Like, it's assembled in Nepal. So, I was very curious about what the interior quality on this is, and it definitely looks like it's up to international standards. The legroom is pretty good at the back too. It's a very tall, upright car. Good clearance, of course. Okay, and now at the other side of Nada, you have the Jiko and you have the Moda. This is the more compact version of the Moda with a little less features but also at a more attractive price point. And then this is the off-roading EV called the Jiko. And what's cool about this is the clearance is 200 and it's got really, really good approach and departure angles because it basically is made in the shape of a proper rugged off-roading sort of vehicle. The range hits close to 400, battery capacity of 65, and it's got a motor power of 135. It's called the iCar in markets abroad, but here it's called the J6. And I had a quick test drive with this vehicle, and oh my god, the suspension on this is like really, really cool. You have a lot of rebound and a lot of articulation on these tires and wheels. These thick tire walls also really do a good job of overall comfort when it comes to rough handling. And I think what's the most unique about this car is the front windshield angle. If you look at it, it's very upright, and so you definitely feel that when you're in the driver's seat as compared to like more slanted roof lines in other cars like the Omoda. And again, this is the all-new Omoda E5, where you have a bit of less features, but again, the overall package is really, really good on this car. The torque on this car, I remember testing it, is just really quick and zippy. So if you're really into that quick sort of city driving and enjoy like that thrill of like being plunged into higher speeds, then this is really the car for you. As for the Jiko, I'm gonna get in just to show you. Here, nerd. Okay. And here at the Jiko backseat, you have this very rough roading type of backseat. I wish they had like a wheel on this, but as far as I know, it's just another space. Oh no, this is tragic. I was here yesterday and they had the Cyberster up on reveal here, but it looks like it's now just the MG ZS EV and the MG4. This is a very nice, fun, tested out car that I reviewed, and the power on this car that comes to delivery is just really, really good. Like, it's got okay spacing and like okay when it comes to like most appliances and features on the car, but because of its low center of gravity and like long wheelbase and that very aerodynamic sort of curvature on the car, it feels so firmly planted, like especially when you hit corners. And because it's a rear wheel drive, this car just has such a different feeling of being pushed forward rather than pulled forward, because most EVs have the motor and the drivetrain at the front, so it's like pulling the car, but this is at the back, so just coming out of a corner with your foot on the accelerator in a rear wheel drive is just something in a league of its own. What I really enjoyed about this year's NADA is you have micro segment cars. This one's called the Volts. I guess these are Chinese manufacturers, but again, for city driving, this size is just perfect. You have another one from BAW. Does 200 to 300 kilometers in range. Pretty damn good. So I am at the Xpeng stall, also imported by CG. Comes in orange, black, gray, lighter gray, and white. As for specifications, you have 190 kilowatt power. That is really good. 440 newton meters of torque. So this car just zooms by. 0 to 106.9, and a range about 435 WLTP, so about 400 I think would be a good guess. And only for ground clearance, 175 mm with a wheelbase of 2800. That is really good. I checked this car out yesterday and the sound system is quite phenomenal on this. That wheelbase is really good in terms of like just giving comfort for the back seat, these rims, but anyway, I think the defining feature of this car is that coupe rear roofline. Like, it's just so different when it comes to just overall handling on this car. And then if you look on the interiors, you have like really nice sort of soft touch materials, and there's like a good play of like different colors and textures. Nice door handle thud. And then I want to find the so obviously automatic boot space openers, and it looks like there is a bit of storage space at the bottom. The sound system on this car was definitely a plus point. You also have privacy covers here. I really like this one strip sort of rear light. I think this color though speaks louder to me. That orange would too, but this car isn't any different. Xpeng. Oh, that curvy soup line. Really, really nice. And then again, a light bar at the front. I think cars at night just will look so different now. Headlights at the bottom, and if you look at it, it looks very much reminiscent of like almost a Tesla curve line that just extends to the back. This is another high-end premium EV called the Avatar 1.1. Its wheelbase is a staggering 2900 mm, so almost 3 meters in between the wheel, and it's a Singer motor rear wheel drive. So as for numbers, 190 kilowatt, that produces 370 newton meters of torque, and it provides a range of 575, but this is NEDC, so probably around 400. You probably need to subtract about 20% and above, depending on your driving, from NEDC range. Battery capacity is either 90 or 116. Oh, and there's a longer range for 680, so this might just about give you about 500 kilometers. And damn, 25 minutes or 45 minutes 0 to 80, so definitely a high voltage architecture system. Anyway, let's have a look at the car honestly, and straight away, what really sticks out to me are these LED lines with these intricate patterns. Like, it's so cool. Your headlights are obviously at the bottom. There is a pretty big frunk in this car, as far as I remember. Almost 100 liters, if I remember correctly. The wheels on this, they are massive. Like, oh my god, 21-inch rims with, again, big, decent sidewalls. This car is crazy. And at the back, this coupe line, it's so nice. This really feels like a old luxury sort of car. You have two cameras at the back. One is probably a reversing camera. One is probably a rear view, and automatic tailgates. Of course, your 360 cameras down there. And this boot space is just massive, just like the rest of the car. Thank you for the lights. Automatic shutting in, and these grab handle lines. And if you look at the interior on this car, it's just very different. You have LiDAR sensors all over the car. Really massive piece of car. You have the L07 and then the S07. I have reviewed the S07 on my channel, and it's a coupe SUV shaped car. 99 kilowatt motors on both. They share the same platform, but this one is more in a sedan sort of shape, whereas the S07 is in more of a coupe SUV shape. And this car has the same motor, the same chassis, it just made it in a different shape. This car has a front LCD screen for the driver's display, whereas the S07 have just a HUD sort of display in the front. And this car is supposedly a bit lower and a bit longer, and if you're more into like a sedan sort of driving preferences, then this is definitely the car. As for wheelbase and rear seat room and everything, they are really nice. They are very luxurious. They are very premium. Also, what's really fun about these cars are these like moonroof at the top, both here and there. It's like a very open expanse sort of interior cabin that just stretches out all the way. And yeah, but I do have a bit of gripes with this car. I've had other friends tell me they don't bottom out this car, but if you look at that bottle there, it's not a lot of clearance. So again, it's a sedan, so there are pros and cons with everything when it comes to getting a different segment genre car. All right. Oh no. You have all this glare flickering because of the lighting setup, but I'm at the Zeekr X, and I'm just gonna go straight into performance because this is compact size performance. 2700 millimeter wheelbase, comes in very neutral tones and colors. And here is the range: 440 and 420. Rear wheel drive single motor and all wheel drive dual motor. Ground clearance is 191, which is really good for the roads in this part of the world. But I want to bring you down to the motor capacity. 200 at the back, and the all-wheel drive has 115 in the front for a total of 315 Newton meters in a smaller segment car. It's not a massive size car again, but just the sheer numbers on this car is crazy. Just the Zeekr car looks so sleek. You have a small frunk at the front, but it's probably just for your charger, nothing too big. But look at the handles, you just put it in there and it opens up itself. You have sensors in there. Put your hand in, it opens up. And just finishing and quality is so nice. Obviously, ISOFIX points there. Here. Oh my god, it's so different. Like, just check this out. It's a button to open. And Yamaha speakers. I'm yet to test this car out, but sound insulation should be great on this car, and just premium sort of seats at the back, and you have a bit of like copper chrome highlights. I don't know what that is though, but very interesting. And then coming to the back, push to open. Decent size with massive hydraulics at the back. Again, this isn't supposed to be a big car. It's a pretty normal size SUV shape. But the thing with this car is that its wheels, its performance is supposed to be very next level. I quickly found an empty Zeekr and just look at the interiors and the finishing on this car. 2 spokes, really refined. Very nice touch points on this car. Your gear selector, your Yamaha, and an infotainment screen in the middle. Okay, so what I really liked was not the lighter color setting, but it's just done in a very like premium and uber cool sort of way. You even have a cubby that extends here, more space down here, and this is the rear wheel drives. This is the all wheel drive version. The one on the other side is. Oh, did you check the mirrors out? Super different. And just the overall looks at the front, very different. Hydraulic bonnet, but you do have a bit of a charger space. This is very little. It'll just hold your granny charger in. Wiper fluids at the front, and just look at the bonnet shape. It's like almost a cockpit. And you have your Zeekr logo at the front. Your DRLs are very unique, almost fighter pilot-like. And like most cars these days, your headlights are at the bottom there. And obviously, it's a Chinese-made car, so it's got most of the features that you would want. I am at KE. I have reviewed this car already. Check it out. Very well-planted, stable, and rugged sort of SUV. And its defining features would probably be its interiors. If you are more of a person that wants functionality on the inside, this car definitely has tons of buttons on the inside. But I'm going to start off with the O2, the smaller of the micro cars, and KE definitely has good amount of legroom and space built at the back. The finishing on the car is really nice as compared to the other Chinese cars available. And just looking at the specs, it's got a range of about 300 kilometers, but it's CLTC, so probably around 250 is the real expected range, and a maximum torque of 110. The doors are massive on this car. What about the boot on this car? Where do you open the boot? Oh, here you go. Oh, it's actually decent. Like, you could definitely store a couple of boxes and more here. And I feel like this is the new sort of trend in all cars. These door is massive. I was not expecting that. Pretty good finishing too for a micro segment car. Your mirror adjustment, headlight angle, AC vents, your gear shifter. I really like that cars just have tiny stock gear shifters now, because you really don't need it. Once you shift it into drive and get the car going, it just goes, and you really don't need to stop anywhere. And then when you reverse, otherwise you have all that space for like your utility storage space. I do want to check out this car at one point just to see how it handles. It looks very firm and weighty. And then coming on to the Q4 04. Cute 04. It's got a longer wheelbase, 2500 and 165 mm of ground clearance, which is ample. I think you really don't need more. And the range on this is also about 300. It's got a much bigger boot space than the first, and it looks like it has a motor of 40 kilowatts, producing 110. And this is a four-door smaller car. I guess in Japan it would be more categorized as a K car, but here I don't think we have that segment. Legroom looks pretty decent. Finishing looks very similar to the Q2, and again, I think this is the main function. When it comes to smaller cars like this, you don't look at all the features, you look at its functionality. Can it get me around town? Will it get me around town with space to save? Will it be able to take in cargo? Will it be able to take in my big boxes and suitcase? And I feel like a car this size would just do the trick quite niftily. At the Suzuki stall, you have a Jimny, you have the newly launched Swift. I loved this car growing up, just that very different sort of low stance look on this car. Just, I'm talking about the Swift, loved it. You have the newer Brisa, and then at the back you have the Franx. The Franx was a delight to drive. That engine felt preppy and fast. Brisa is a car that has been bought by many here for its perfect size utility, good clearance, and decent performance. But I think what I'm most interested in at the moment is this new Swift, also the Jimny. Really, really good off-roading capable car that can easily do a lot of highland trek. But anyway, the new Swift boot space 265. You have a unladen ground clearance of 163 mm. Decent. Again, these aren't long wheelbase cars, so you really don't need to worry about it. Again, it's just 2400 mm, 2450, so it'll definitely do the trick quite well. And moving along, Swift has really introduced really nice sort of DRLs at the front here with these very long, big headlights. Coming to the back, it's a bit of a longer sort of wheelbase, so you definitely have more legroom space at the back here, and the seats feel upright. Oh, that's interesting. ISOFIX points even on Maruti cars. I did not grow up seeing ISOFIX points in any Suzuki cars, but hey, they're there now. And then at the front, it's a very new redesigned sort of dashboard. Looks like a touchscreen infotainment followed by an analog and MID display driver's infotainment screen. And I really want to see how improved their manual transmission gearbox, how smooth it is. So I'm probably towards the end of my car walk around at the NADA Expo, and BYD is tucked in at a corner, but they've really done a good job in like highlighting their stall, starting with the new color BYD Dolphin, about 300 plus kilometers of range in this new white color. It's a bit more poppy compared to the old white BYD Dolphin. Again, this car is phenomenal space at the back. It's got all the features you want, and just legroom at the back is really good. Ride handling is also really good. The design might be a bit polarizing. Some people like it, some people don't, but I for one really like it, especially the functionality over the form. And moving to the centerpiece, you have your BYD C-Line 7. So I'm actually very surprised how they got this car here. It must have been a lot of strings pulled to get this, because this car is just being released in markets abroad, and the fact that they got it in our Nepali left-hand drive, holy crap. This car is just sold in right-hand drive models, and a lot of the cars that had come to Nada Expo were still in their right-hand drive configuration, so I don't know how they got it, but the numbers on this car, like I mentioned in my Instagram story, is just crazy. So motor capacity wise, it's an all-wheel drive powertrain, and it has about 380 or 390 kilowatt of a motor, which is absurd because in Nepal most of the cars are 100 and below, and some of the more performance oriented go up to about 200, but this is like close to hitting 400. And the torque, the acceleration on this car, 620 newton meters. Like, oh my god, it's just gonna make you fly and like thrash you in your seat. It's way too damn fast. Again, is it ever fast enough? I don't know, but it's the coupe version of the Seal. Comes with Michelin tires, Pilot Sport. I don't know if people have noticed that, but what? Pilot Sport tires. These are super grippy tires. Again, great to handle the performance. I'm trying to look at the size 245, 45, R20, so 20-inch wheels. And the disc brakes absolutely look massive on this. Again, as fast as cars go, they also need to slow down, so this probably has all of it. And then to the right, you have the all-new released 2024 BYD Atto 3. And this one is in the new premium black shade. So what you get new on this car is a bigger center console, C-pillar black at the back, and then you don't have that traditional BYD lighter interior, but a darker purple, blue, black sort of interior. All black sort of unibody design. And what I really liked about it, I wish this was more in the front display, but this is fine at the back as well. And you have your BYD platform, like basically your chassis, the E-Platform 3.0, in which the Dolphin, the Atto 3 are all based on. So you have your front motor, and then you have your blade battery in the middle, and then you have another rear motor platform at the back. This is probably your AC to DC converter with your shock absorptions here. And then, yeah, domain control, cockpit domain, thermal management pump, your powertrain, and then your powertrain systems at the back. Really cool that they somehow pulled this in together. And now comes the commercial segment of Nada, which I am not the most interested in, personally speaking. So I'm gonna end this vlog right here. Again, this wasn't a vlog with all the price points and the eye-watery, mouth-watering sort of discounts and deals. These were just the things that really stood out to me in each of the stalls and each of the cars, and I just wanted to take you through the things that really stood out to me. Someone who's like a bit detail oriented, so if you're at Nada, do check it out. And if you missed the show, most of these cars will be displayed at their respective showrooms, so do check that out too. And anyway, if you have any other questions or comments, drop them down below, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.